So, since it looks like I'm going to lose a kidney, I figured I'd go to the one person I know who only has one kidney.
This guy.
Welcome to Crocs in the Kitchen. I am Brian.
And I am Jeff.
And you will notice we are not in our usual kitchen, we are in his kitchen.
Welcome.
And for those of you who don't know who this is Jeff. Jeff and his wonderful wife, Tess, Tess is Jessica's cousin, is also the one who carried our beautiful Elsie for us. And so every couple of months, we always like to come over here and visit these guys so they can spend some time with Elsie, and we get to hang out with them, and we get to have a grand old time. And it's always fun because, you know, the families come together and we always have a good time, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes we make the trip out to St. Louis.
Yeah.
Tropical St. Louis.
But the specific reason why I wanted to do this video is because, like I said in the beginning, it's looking like I'm going to lose a kidney to quite possibly kidney cancer. And, you know, that's its own separate thing. We talked about that in the last video, and I'm sure that I will talk about that more in the future. And for those of you who are wondering, no, we still haven't done the biopsy yet, and we still haven't done the surgery. That is happening the biopsy's happening in a few days, and then the surgery should happen a little bit after that. But the reason why we're here is because Jeff is literally the only person I know who only has one kidney. Now, Jeff, why do you only have one kidney?
I donated one of my kidneys to a friend of a friend about 6 years ago. And that was a fantastic and interesting experience that I had never really expected to have.
Yeah. So how did you find out about this person, and why did you think that, like, oh, I should probably go and maybe see if I can donate a kidney?
It was one of those oh really moments. My wife and I had watched a TV show. I can't remember what it was, but something in the episode revolved around donating organs. And I said, you know what, I think if I knew somebody who needed one, I think I would do that. And lo and behold, a month or two later, she tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, check this out. Kara just did a 5K with some friends, and they're all wearing these t-shirts that say, oh my God, Kenny needs a kidney, blood type O positive, with an email address. So she said, were you serious? Because you're blood type O positive, right? And I am. So I emailed him. And about 3.5 months later, kidney surgery, boom, done. So it went pretty quickly. He had a bout of shockingly high blood pressure, I believe, that fried both of his kidneys, and he was on dialysis and was doing everything he could to be ready to be a good, viable recipient. So we spent some time together, did a lot of medical testing, a lot of trips down to Cincinnati where they lived. That was the hospital where they were going to do the transplant, and it was quite a process to get everybody comfortable with it, but I'm glad I did it.
Nice. So you just did it out of the goodness of your heart.
Yeah, it was somebody I'd never met before, someone who was important to someone who was important to someone who I knew, who was my sister-in-law. So yeah, we got together for tacos a couple weeks after I had reached out, just to get to know each other, and then started on the blood tests and all of the other medical evaluations, and that was a very interesting process. Some of the sorts of things you would expect, like, okay, let's start with the blood test. Is that a match? Yes, good, great. Now let's do some additional medical screenings to make sure I'm healthy enough to donate. So that was a few extra rounds of stuff. And then you get into the weird things like, okay, we need to really scrutinize your ability for your kidneys to clear stuff from your body. So there was a 24-hour period where I carried around a jug, and I had to collect all of my my urine for 24 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, it was weird. It was
Good.
also Mother's Day weekend, made it super awkward. You know, you put it in a satchel so nobody knows you're carrying around your own bodily waste. But it was it was quite an interesting thing. And all the tests came back, oh, that's good, that looks good, that looks good. And eventually it became, MRI and extra scans to, figure out which kidney is the correct one to donate, which, by the way, when you're doing it as a donor, they give the less effective kidney to the recipient. Oh. They leave you your stronger kidney. So my lefty is all gone. I kept the right one. Kenny got the left. So yeah, there's a psychiatric evaluation just to make sure you're doing this for reasons that make sense and that you're doing it with, a good understanding of what you're getting into. Nutritionist, tons and tons of medical evaluations, and then they schedule surgery.
Nice. So that leads to then the next question. What is the surgery like? What's the recovery like? All that kind of stuff.
Obviously, this is done under general anesthetic, so you're fully asleep. Mine was done, and I think the current standard is to do it laparoscopically. So I've got a couple of small scars on the left side, and then about a 4 or 4.5 inch scar under my belly button where they removed the kidney out the front. Apparently they used to do it in the back. They don't do it that way anymore. And the surgery itself, I don't believe it took too terribly long. It was less than an hour or two, and then obviously they rushed mine from one room to the other to do the transplant. But I was awake and tired. The next day, they had me up and walking and eating normally. They discharged me the next day. It was the day after surgery. I was out of the hospital.
Gotcha. So I know my doctor said that I would probably be in the hospital for a couple of days after that, and then they would discharge me. So maybe recovery time is a little bit different, especially for somebody of my size, but yeah, it seems like the recovery time isn't necessary, or that the surgery to discharge time isn't exactly like a large amount.
No, you're not in the hospital for weeks.
Yeah.
This is not open heart surgery, heart transplant sort of stuff. This is not simple, but something that they do with some regularity.
Yeah. And I remember we talked about it before that you basically were on like some of the better pain medication for just a couple of days, and then you were on like the general stuff after that.
Yeah, the approach that they took at the hospital where I did mine, they try not to send you home with narcotics. They gave me a day or two worth of that sort of thing. And then there was more of a nerve pain medication, which I didn't actually like the way I felt on that. So after a few days, I pretty much switched to just Tylenol.
Okay. All right. And how long after that, though, was like your actual recovery? Because it's not just the surgery, obviously. Like
right.
your body still has to adjust and everything. So
yeah. So the physical recovery, like I didn't mow the grass for the rest of the summer. This was in July, and we hired one of the neighbor kids to come over and mow it. My kids were a little too young at that point. And they told me, I can't remember if it was 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, I wasn't supposed to lift anything too heavy. But a month or so later, we were tearing out the walls in the basement to refinish that. So it was a relatively quick recovery. I was actually looking at photos because I couldn't remember exactly how it went. And I was at a restaurant the day after, and we went to my daughter's baptism the following weekend, and I was upright and walking around, and I wasn't running, I wasn't doing anything strenuous, but it was relatively straightforward. There's some pain for sure. Up and down stairs, I remember being very uncomfortable for the first few days to maybe week, and then it just felt weird and ache and took some time to heal.
Gotcha. Now, were you still in pain like after 4 or 5 weeks, or was it just more like you just trying to be careful?
After 4 or 5 weeks, I was just paying attention to if moving this way hurts, don't do that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a daily sort of thing. They did glue instead of staples or stitches, so there wasn't a lot of post-operative stuff that needed to be done. So it was mostly, they do go through your abdomen so the muscles need a little time to recover. But after that was sort of back to capable, I guess, healed up for the most part. It wasn't that big an impact day to day.
Gotcha. All right. So it seems like I'm gonna have a few weeks of pain and recovery and stuff, but nothing too insane, right?
That was my experience.
Gotcha.
I hope it's the same for you.
Yeah, I mean, at least so like, my doctor kind of walked through that stuff too, but he didn't necessarily give me specifics on anything. It was more so just like, you're gonna be in there for like a few days, and then you can take it easy for several weeks after that. And so but we didn't really like go over detailed things of like, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
But my final bit here though is, how has your life changed since donating the kidney, or since losing your kidney? I guess you didn't really lose it, you gave it away, you know where it is,
right?
But how like, have you had to make any lifestyle changes since donating the kidney?
Well, I will say the first 6 to 12 months after, there were a lot of extra blood tests and urine samples just to make sure that my remaining kidney sort of, and it sort of recovers and beefs up, and then it's doing the work of 2 kidneys. And since all my blood work continues to be good, now it's just my annual physical is the only follow-up that's required. The only things I have had to avoid or give up or not do without medical or without like doctor's input is, I'm not supposed to take any NSAIDs, so no ibuprofen, aspirin, that sort of thing. Tylenol or acetaminophen is my available painkiller. And on the rare occasions when you need to do a body scan of some sort with contrast, those typically are processed through the kidney, so I'm not supposed to do that anymore.
Makes sense. Yeah.
But other than that, I eat my normal diet.
And then you have the occasional drink.
I do. There's been no issues there. No one warned me and said, oh, you need to give up, you should reduce this. Basically, they wanted to make sure that the one kidney was doing enough work to keep my body clear, and once they confirmed that, everything is a-okay.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
I like that. I hear a baby crying in the background. I doubt it picked up on the mic though, but that's just little Elsie. Jessica's taking care of her right now. But I know Jessica wanted me to ask this one final little question, and that is, what was the best part for you when it comes to donating your kidney or donating an organ?
I will say, like, I literally had to look up what it was like after. This was 2018, so it doesn't seem like it was that long in the past, and for me, it's now a non-issue. I still see the scars occasionally, but I don't really notice it. On the flip side, the fellow who received my kidney was doing daily dialysis, and anytime he and his fiance and his daughter wanted to go somewhere, they had to plan around either taking those supplies or finding a clinic or going somewhere that was close enough to home that he didn't have to worry about that. And a few months after that fall, we attended their wedding in Florida, and it was beautiful. And I know that they've now had the opportunity to travel and do all sorts of exciting things that would not have been safe or practical for them to do otherwise. So the impact to me was uncomfortable for a few months and inconvenient for a little bit, but it was no match for the things that he can now do in his life, and that lasts him forever.
Nice. So I would say that if you have it in your heart and your head to possibly donate an organ, go get checked out. You never know when you're going to match with somebody else, and something, while it is a major thing to donate a kidney or like part of your liver or something like that, you have the opportunity to possibly save someone's life, and not only save their life, but give them a much better quality of life later on. And all for just a little bit of pain and inconvenience for yourself. Now, I myself am obviously, going to lose this kidney. Well, it's quite possible that I'm going to lose this kidney, which is also my left kidney, if you were wondering. And for a completely different reason. Obviously, I'm not donating anything. They're just going to remove it and destroy it, as far as I know. But while we came to this conclusion for the both of us in 2 very different ways, I think it's kind of funny that of all the stuff that we've shared over the last year, you know, with your wife helping us bring life into this world and us just growing together as a family and everything. I think it's funny that you and I are also coming to like this weird grouping together where it'll be 2 guys and 2 kidneys, you know? But it's I just think it's funny, sort of the weirdness of like, you know, God like playing jokes like that.
I never would have expected it.
No, I don't think any of us did. But yeah, no, that was fantastic, Jeff. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
So subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and you can click the bell that is right next to it. You'll get notified whenever we post a new video. You can also follow us on social media, Facebook and Instagram, and get updates on there. I'm sure Jessica will be updating stuff as far as like my surgery and all that goes as that comes up. And so you can keep track of a lot of that stuff there. But I think that's all I got for this one. It's definitely all Jeff has. We will see you next time on Crocs in the Kitchen. Bye.